Alrighty there, Mr. Matthew Larson here, World War II. We're going to dive right in and get to the information that you need to know. First and foremost, what in the heck caused World War II in the get-go? Okay, so it's a really important question you need to understand. The simple answer just might be Hitler, but we're going to go a little bit higher thinking than that going on right through here. First and foremost, I'm going to explain these in detail just a little bit more. Number one, the failure of the Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles ended World War I. It kind of pretty much stunk, which is going to lead to World War II. Number two, there's going to be a number of economic factors, which I'll be explaining in just a second, that are going to go cause the war. Number three, we have intense nationalism, as if they did not learn something from World War I. Nationalism is going to play a fairly large role in causing World War II. Maybe eventually people will figure that out. And number four is appeasement and isolationism. This is going to be another thing that I'm going to be explaining how it's going to cause World War II. Failure of the Treaty of Versailles. So the important thing to realize about the Treaty of Versailles is Germany's borders are going to be changed as a result of this, okay? This is going to then lead to the bankruptcy, or the Germany's economy becoming incredibly bankrupt due to the reparation payments that they're going to be having to pay as a result of the Treaty of Versailles. So if you look on the screen right here, you can see a map of Germany. Now, everything that's circled in that dark black line, as you can see there on the map key, is going to be Germany pre-World War I. So Germany before 1914. Then you're going to look right through here and how everything is going to change after the Treaty of Versailles. So first you look down by France, you see that land, the Saar Basin, is going to be given back to the French, or given to the French. You can imagine the Germans are not very happy about that. They're going to give up land to Belgium right over there. We got a huge chunk of land given to a new country known as Poland that's going to be kind of around, but kind of just walked all over throughout history. We're going to have areas right there, kind of demilitarized areas given to Czechoslovakia. But it's important to realize that the Germans are not happy about this at all. It's also important to realize, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on, but the lands that Hitler goes and invades first are the land that was previously owned by the Germans before the Treaty of Versailles, before World War I. So Hitler, when he was advancing, was really at first trying to take back the land that Germans, and he particularly, viewed as German land. Number two, though, swipe that one out of there, is Germany is going to lose the vast majority of its land, not the vast majority, but a large portion of its land to the surrounding nations, and Germany wants them back. Remember, as I was just saying, the land that Hitler is going to advance on first, before he tries to take over pretty much all of Europe, is land that that Germany lost as a result of the Treaty of Versailles. It's also important to understand the war guilt clause. Now, the war guilt clause in the Treaty of Versailles simply stated that Germany was 100% responsible for causing World War I. Now, if you look back at history, you understand that one country is not fully to blame. However, the rest of Europe had more votes, and they really didn't care what the Germans thought, so they blamed the Germans for all of this. Germany is going to be forced to pay 57 trillion, okay, that's a modern equivalency, $57 trillion in order to pay off World War I. They actually just paid this off in the early to mid 2000s. To put this in perspective, it took them nearly 100 years to pay off World War I. These payments, though, are going to bankrupt the German economy. Quite frankly, the Germans did not have the money in order to go and pay this off. That's going to cause a number of issues. This is also, though, important because the German people are going to feel hopeless, that there is no hope, there's no way we're going to pay this off in our lifetime, as we see it being paid off actually in the 2000s, and they feel incredibly embarrassed. They feel like their leaders have let them down. They feel like no pride to be German anymore. The other thing about this is the United States was a part of the negotiations for the Treaty of Versailles. It goes back to the United States, and Congress flat out votes it down. So this treaty that was supposed to kind of blame the Germans and set up everything and not really totally knock out the Germans, the United States rejects, which flat out embarrasses the Germans. They're very unhappy by this, and it's not a good time to be a German. Economic factors into play, as I've already talked about. We look at the economy in Germany falling apart. But number two, we have the Great Depression going on at this time, where we have the stock market collapse. in New York, which is going to suffer all around the world. So we have, starts in the United States, but the American economy fractures and falls down, and that's going to lead over to Europe, Asia, and then the rest of the world. So the Great Depression is going to have a large consequences on the economic kind of well-being of the countries around the world, and people are going to blame, one, their governments for this, and they want change. Whenever anything bad happens in the economy, the government is going to be blamed for that for the most part. The Great Depression is going to make Germany's war debt even worse than it already was. So they've already got this $57 trillion to pay back, and now they have no money in the first place. This is going to be horrible. As a result of this, the people of Germany become desperate. And they're going to want to turn to a strong leader because these strong leaders make them feel better, and they blame others for your problems. In this case, they're going to have Adolf Hitler come in. He's going to blame the former government was bad and should never have signed this treaty. He's going to blame the Jews for causing a lot of problems. Jews were primarily, or a lot of bankers in Germany were Jews. You're going to blame foreigners, these outsiders coming into our country trying to tell us what to do. He's going to blame the communists. How dare the communists, particularly in Russia, but their influence coming into Germany, how dare they? The Roma, who are known as the Gypsies as well, Hitler did not like them, blamed them for a lot of problems. He blamed the mentally ill, saying that they were a drain on the German economy, that we should not really take care of them because they're a waste of our money when we can't do anything. And he blamed homosexuals as well, saying that their lifestyle is going to be contrary to what Germany stands for, and Germany cannot stand for any of these groups of people. Hitler's going to do this. We're going to have similar situations existing in other countries. Germany's not the only country to do this. Italy is going to have a large say of this happening as well. Italy was suffering from the results of the war. We're going to have similar kind of things happen in the United States, particularly with the Jews, this time period. So it's going on around the rest of the world, and that's important to understand. Next, okay, we're going to look at some pictures right up here, just to show you exactly how bad things were in Germany with the German inflation. This is a picture of a man taking his German marks, the money in Germany, to buy a loaf of bread. That is how much money you needed to buy a loaf of bread because the inflation was so bad. Right here we have a woman burning the money because it's cheaper to burn the money than it is to pay for coal to heat her stove. And lastly, we have children here playing with money as building blocks because it's cheaper to use your money as a building block than it is to simply go and buy the blocks. Next, we have nationalism. Nationalism known as extreme pride in your country. This is going to give rise to fascism in Italy. So we're going to have the fascists, the Nazis come to power. Not Nazis in Germany. We're going to have the fascists come to power in Italy, the Nazis in Germany, and Japan is going to start colonizing Asia. So they basically walk in, say, hey, rest of Asia, you are now Japanese. There's going to be extreme pride in one's country, which is nationalism. That is important. Make sure you know what is nationalism. As I already talked about, this is going to give rise to extreme fascism in a number of different places. Fascism in and of itself is extreme, and this nationalism is going to go even farther. So we've got the fascist led by Mussolini in Italy. We've got the fascist in Germany, known as the Nazi Party, led by Adolf Hitler right here. Japan is not going to be fascist. They're going to have the empire, and they're going to start just expanding. They're going to have Japan. They're going to go into Korea, Manchuria, which is current-day China. They're going to go down into a number of the Pacific Islands as well and keep trying to advance. One thing that comes with nationalism is an increased strength of your military. Your country you view as the best. You want to make sure that you can protect your interests, both foreign and domestic, and you're going to emphasize military strength. Lastly, we're going to talk about appeasement and isolationism. Number one, France and England, the two other powerful countries in Europe, are still recovering from World War I. They do not have the ability to go fight another war. They have a lot of problems going on in their country. They're not ready to go fight a war. They don't like what's happening in Germany, but they really don't have the ability to go against this. Some countries like the United States are just going to simply isolate themselves. The Americans felt they should not have ever gotten drug into World War I in the first place, and that it hurt their country. They've got some economic problems going on back in the US as well. They just want to kind of stay out of everyone's hair. Not my problem. You guys just do your own thing. We'll do this. There's also this perception of World War I that didn't really solve much and it cost a ton of money. So they're going to view any other war as the same kind of thing, very expensive and not going to really solve much. This is going to lead to appeasement. And appeasement is simply when you give dictators, these fascist leaders, really whatever they want, just give them something, but hope they don't want anything else. So this is like if you're babysitting a child or something and you want the kid to just quit complaining, so you say, fine, have a piece of candy, but then shut up and stay out of my hair. You can imagine this is not necessarily going to do a lot of good, but this is exactly what appeasement is and how it's going to happen. This idea of appeasement is going to allow the Japanese to invade Manchuria, which is current-day China, the Italian invasion of Ethiopia down in Africa, and the Germans are going to go into the Sudetenland, which is known as Czechoslovakia. That is all for today. Please comment down below with any questions you might have. Good luck.